Welcome. All right, so my name is Juan, and I want to kind of introduce you to this niche, this specialty area of writing immigration evaluations. And this is, if you will, like just an introductory video, as if you were just really diving into the area and you're kind of sitting there and and asking yourself, what type of work is this? What does it look like? What does it mean? And I want to provide that introduction for you. So, as a clinician, right, whether you're a licensed social worker, a licensed marriage family therapist, an LPC, a psychologist, psychotherapist, as long as you're licensed, right, you hold that foundation, you're able to, and then I'll go on a small tangent, able to, as long as you connect with your licensure board to make sure that you're able to, and then you have your insurance, malpractice, all of those components, right? But aside from that, you're able to write what are called immigration evaluations or hardship evaluations. Different clinicians that provide the training word them a little bit different, but overall it's an evaluation that you were writing. And they hold that component of a psychosocial evaluation, a forensic-like evaluation, all kind of mixed into one, if you will. Now, as a clinician, you're going to work with different type of cases. Some cases are trauma-related, and the other side of the cases are non-trauma related. And I'll give you the names of those, and then overall just like a soft introduction into what they look like, and then how to begin that process working with the client. Now, typically the client, they're going to come through an attorney, and the reason for that is due to it's a legal case, right? So due to it being a legal case, the client is connected to an attorney who's helping them navigate that legal case, right? Helping them process it. And then part of that process has a little component, right? Almost like they had a portfolio, and the attorney's helping them with his giant portfolio to navigate their legal case. Part of that, one of those components in the portfolio, you pull it out, and it's to work with a clinician, whether you're a counselor, again, a licensed social worker, psychologist, to work with that clinician to shed light on how that legal case impacts that individual's experience, mental health, some sort of component around that area, right? And this is just one component in that portfolio that the attorney is helping that individual navigate as far as that legal proceeding. And again, Juan here is not an attorney. Just want to shed that with you. I'm shedding light as far as from the clinical side and kind of helping you get introduced in a very soft and warm way, if you will. There's different type of cases, as mentioned before, that the client is going to be working with the attorney in. And some of the cases are going to be trauma related, right? And some of the cases are non-trauma related. And as a clinician, I really just want you to think about in your mind what trauma looks like. And it's exactly what you're going to hear in a couple of seconds. Examples of the trauma cases are the U visa case, a T visa case, a VAWA case, and asylum case. And these are cases that I go into in the courses that I teach, and then I go into some of the other videos that you hear here on my YouTube channel. Now, with these cases, right, those are the trauma-related ones. Then you have the non-trauma ones. That's like your hardship cases, I-601A, cancellation or removal case. And the biggest difference in these two different categories here, right, type of case, is one highlights more of a trauma than the other. Not to say that trauma isn't interconnected in there. If my full clinician hat came on, then trauma, at least in my opinion, is often interconnected in both of those areas, through that conversation that takes place between the client and counselor. Now, as far as your role, right, like what is my role as a clinician, as a counselor, psychologist, whatever your professional title is, what is my role in supporting this client who is already working with their legal representative, their immigration attorney? Now, let's take an example. We'll go into the trauma category, and all the examples work roughly in the same way. We'll just use one so that it makes sense. So let's go into the trauma category, and then we'll just pull out a U visa case, right, to make it simple. Now, a U visa case, what that highlights is that it kind of goes into the definition of a U visa from a counselor's perspective. And it's, pretty much the same thing from the other perspective. I just like to explain it this way so that from the counselor perspective, it's the information that we need to know versus from the attorney's perspective, it's the information that they need to know. Now, from the counseling perspective, a U visa case is where an individual on U.S. territory, right here in the U.S., they go through some sort of trauma, and then they also qualify by abiding by supporting the police in the report, that sort of detail. Now, let's take an example. It would be that if I, who is undocumented, right, I, Juan, undocumented, not able to drive, I'm not able to have, not able to work, And there's a pure definition for it where it highlights, you're not able to have certain rights that U.S. citizens or permanent residents have here in the U.S. because you are, hence undocumented. So I, Juan, to be able to qualify for this, I would have to go through some sort of trauma. An example of a trauma that I've seen in many cases that I've worked with would be that if I go to, let's say, a bank, and I'm at the bank and I'm, getting monies, withdrawal, if you will, just my normal process. All of a sudden, a robbery takes place. And then I am part of that equation now. The police come in, and I was there. They pointed the gun at me. I went through that whole ordeal. Now, that individual cooperates with the police. They go through the whole process. They work with an attorney to see if they qualify for the U visa, which then allows them through its process to be able to receive legal status in the U.S. And then that's kind of the legal connection to why the individual will want to take that route. From the clinical side, an attorney or even the client may reach out. So they may say, hey, Mr. Counselor, are you able to, or Mrs. Counselor, hey, Counselor, right? What'd you say here for an example? I'm kind of getting too silly on myself. So, hey, Juan, are you able to support? Are you able to work with this individual? Trauma took place. We're kind of wanting to see how that's impacted them, right? So then, of course, you're going to work with that person. And just like an evaluation, I like to kind of connect evaluations to an intake process, to a CCA, just so that it makes the clinician a little more comfortable. It does go deeper into it, but that at least for me gives the comfort, because most of us through graduate school were knowledgeable of what that CCA looked like. We're knowledgeable of what the intake process looked like. So by having that prior knowledge, it increases our confidence, right? And then we feel that there's more of a self-efficacy there. There's more of a willingness, grit to be able to go through with the process. So they reach out, hey, Juan, are you able to write this evaluation? We kind of want to see what's going on. And that's really what you're doing, like in a soft term. You're trying to see how the individual was impacted, right? How I was impacted at the bank that day based off of that incident. And there's going to be a police report. You're going to be able to read the police report and see what took place. It's called your collateral information. And again, I'm giving you a very introductory video here versus what the course does, where it goes really deep into understanding these components and then how to write the evaluation.